Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, peak performance coach, Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Bamboo Lab podcast. I'm really excited for this guest we have on today. 3-4 months ago, I was introduced to him by a mutual friend of ours. And right away, we spent like an hour on the phone and had this amazing conversation. And it was really uncanny, the amount of coincidences we have in our life, the similarities between our lives, the way we live our lives, our past, our younger selves, the way we, work on body, mind, spirit, soul, whatever. And it was right away we connected. It was like one of those things where you're like, okay, I feel like I've known this guy for 10 years. So without further ado, I'm not going to go a big introduction. Anthony Johnson, my friend, I'm honored to welcome you to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Ryan, thank you so much for the introduction. I am very, very excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. Okay, so I've gotten to know you really well over the last 3 or 4 months, but can you please share with the audience members out there a little bit about yourself, your family, your childhood, whatever you want to share?
Yeah, figured let's start from the beginning. So I am native to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area. I was actually born and raised in Minneapolis, and I'm the middle child. So I have an older sister and a younger brother. And in my younger years, my father was a city cop. So he was a police officer on the north side of Minneapolis, which is a pretty rough and tumble part of town. So therefore, he was a pretty rough and rugged individual. And at that time, my mother was stay at home. Due to some unfortunate events, my dad left the house when I was about 7 years old. So I was raised by my mom, which I had to grow up pretty quick in a pretty tough environment as well. So happy to expand more on my childhood and some of the trials and tribulations and what that entailed. But fast forward, I also became a father at a very young age as well. I was 22 years old when Isaac was brought into the world. And he is one of my shining stars. And he is now, again, 19 years old. He is at Minnesota State Mankato studying his first year at college to be in construction management. And he's doing quite well. So
I love it.
That's a brief little bit of my background.
Those are just two more things we have in common. Both lost their fathers in one way, shape, or form at a young age, raised by strong single mothers, and both were fathers at a young age. It just
a lot of growing up.
Yeah, a lot of growing up. But man, just the similarities. It's so strange. I've got to give a shout out to Dave Dick for introducing us as friends.
Absolutely.
So. Okay, can you tell us a little bit? I'm so impressed by the man that you are and just the way you live life. And I'll share with the audience, when you listen to Anthony's story today and his journey and his wisdom, I'm just going to ask you, who is your Anthony in your life? Because he is the kind of person that you want to surround yourself with. He's the man that you want in your corner. He's the man you want to be able to call at 2 a.m. He's the man whose phone you call you need to answer every day. So think about who is your Anthony. So without that, I'm going to find out who or what event or book or person inspired you growing up.
Growing up, I would put that number one would be Mr. Strand. He was my teacher in elementary school, and he was my teacher in 4th and 5th grade. And that is shortly after my father left the home. So I was in a pretty tough situation. I had a pretty supreme lack of confidence. I was struggling a lot with school, with anger and resentment. And he kind of served as a father figure type of role. He would hold me after class. He would teach me things. He would really help me understand how to maneuver through some of the pitfalls that I was going through. So he was just a very, very, very much a focal point in my younger years. And kind of a fun story is 5th grade. At the end of 5th grade is when I moved away from the cities out to the suburbs. But he actually canceled all of class for that last day, and it was just an Anthony day. So it was pretty special. But after class, he pulled me aside and he said, Anthony, I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. And when you do, you will accomplish great things. And I'll never forget that. I'm getting chills even just talking about it. But that carried throughout my life. And I always remember back to Mr. Strand and what he meant for me. Kind of an interesting story, and I'd encourage any listeners to do this as well, is if you have a teacher, whether it's elementary school, high school, college, whatever, that was near and dear to your growth, to reach back out to them and thank them. So through the powers of the Google machine, I somehow found Mr. Strand, and who had long since been retired, and I threw a Hail Mary out there. I found an email address. I said, hey, is this Mr. Strand? Used to teach at this elementary school. He wrote back. He said, yes, this is. Who is this? I said, it's Anthony Johnson. Do you remember me? And we ended up chatting over the telephone, and brought tears to his eyes that, this young child that he took some extra attention to reach back out to him after about 30 years. That's awesome. And we stay connected to this day as well. And it was just really special. So while I had a father figure absent in the household, a teacher came into my situation and helped foster a lot of my growth. And that was pretty special. So he was a major, major inspiration for me.
Mr. Strand is still with us today.
Yes.
I hope he listens to this.
He'll get a copy of it.
All right. I love to hear that. We need we not only do we need Mr. Strands in our lives, we also all have to be a Mr. Strand.
Yes.
To be that person who down the road, somebody looks back 30 years later and says, here's the man who inspired me. Here's the woman who inspired me. I had a Mr. Frank Alec. Mr. Alec was my first and second grade. I think it was second and third grade teacher. I had him 2 years in a row at Grocap Elementary School, and he was mine. So 5 or 6 years ago, I called him, and I think my mother gave me his phone number. He's still in my hometown. He's retired now. I didn't get a chance to talk with him. I spoke with his wife, and I told her to just tell Mr. Alec, who I am, what grade I had. I was he was right out of college, so I was one of his first students ever. I was in the first classroom ever had, and I just said I wanted to let him know that he changed my life, and I think I heard back from him. I don't know. It seemed like there was a voicemail or a text or something back from him after that saying how much it meant to him. So it's good for us to do that. Reach out to tell people who made a big difference in your life, because, it's just sending out those good vibes to the universe and they come back to you.
Yes, they do.
It shows it's a way of showing appreciation. I had an interesting story. I was watching football with Dawson, obviously my son, on Saturday, and over the course of the day, friends just kind of joined, and I was talking to this couple, and I'm going to shout out to Patsy and Alex. I'm going to embarrass them a little bit, but nobody knows who they are on this podcast. And I'm going to send them a copy. They were talking about the podcast and how they like to listen to it when they're going to bed at night when they can't sleep. Like, when we can't sleep, we put on your podcast. I'm like, you realize that's not exactly the greatest endorsement for my podcast. So basically, to some people, this podcast is just a cure for insomnia. But I made a mark in my brain, said I'm going to make a shout out to them on the next show, and hopefully when they're listening to this, they won't be asleep yet, because we're only a few minutes. So I had to say it real early in the interview.
I love it.
So, brother, let me ask you. In the last 12 months, 20, whatever, in the recent past, what would you say is your greatest learning, or at least one of your greatest learnings?
The past 12 months or a couple of years. So candidly, I've always struggled a lot with anxiety and depression and falling in and out of routine. So I'm either running a million miles a minute, like I'm on fire, or I'm on the polar opposite end of that, where I'm struggling mightily. So it's just a battle of anxiety, depression, etc. And happy to get deeper into this, but I had a life-changing event a couple years ago where I had a very best friend that passed away, and I was in a pretty low moment moving into about this time last year. And it's true what they say, that you are a direct reflection of the five closest people you surround yourself with. So throughout my life, I've been able to shed a lot of leaves or friends or acquaintances that weren't helping push me in the right direction. And there's a couple individuals in particular that asked me to participate with them in the 75 Hard program, which I think you're familiar with, Brian.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the 75 Hard program, it is discipline 101, but basically the program, it's 75 straight days where you are committed to adhering to a set of rules, 6 rules in particular. So it's working out 2 times a day for 45 minutes, 1 inside, 1 outside, each of those 45 minutes, reading a book, at least 10 pages a day, drinking a gallon of water, taking a daily progress picture, following a specific diet, no cheat meals, no sugar, no alcohol, etc. And say you're 45 days into that and you have a beer or miss a workout. And keep in mind, I live in Minnesota, and it was around this time last year, moving into December. So there were a couple of days where it was negative temperatures and I'm outside jumping rope or jogging, etc. But I accomplished that program, and that set the trajectory into this year where I have gained so much confidence and understanding of myself, what my abilities are, that I thrive in a routine, and I'd say bigger than that too, how when you are paying attention to your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, that everything starts to fall into place.
Amen.
Because again, coming into this, there was a lot of heavy moments after my best friend passed away, and I was floundering, to be extremely honest. So I learned a lot about grit, a lot about discipline, a lot about trusting myself, and the power of having influential individuals in your friend circle to continue pushing you towards your dreams or your goals. I think that was extremely pivotal, and I've learned a lot in the last 12 months, and it really started with that program, believe it or not.
Yeah, I really want to talk for a minute on this, who you associate with, how important that is. I think that's a message we can't get out enough. I will tell you right now, I'm on day 39 with no beer.
Yeah, guy.
I don't miss it at all. I don't even think about it. I don't miss it. I went out with Dawson to watch football all day Saturday. We were out for 11 hours. On Saturday, and I think I counted. Well, I stopped counting at 12, but I know I had a couple more, so 14, 15 non-alcoholic beers.
Wow.
Just to stay social.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, I'll probably never have another one again. No, I think I've OD'd on non-alcoholic beers, man.
Yeah.
But I just don't have the desire. One of the things I look at, like the 75 Hard program or any type of, very, very structured, routine, consistent program that we either, follow somebody else's or we create ourselves. When you get into it, like, you just don't want to break it. Like, there's no point, because there's so much more dopamine release and so much more pleasure out of doing the things that are hard, doing the things that challenge you, than there is drinking beer. Going back on that, the question I'd like everybody to ponder for a minute is something that Anthony and I talked about, I think, the last couple of weeks, is ask yourself a question every day. And I recommend doing this at 10 a.m. and having your alarm set on your phone to go off at 10 o'clock. The alarm should read, what is one thing you've done that's hard already today? Well, yes. I should say intentionally done. If you're forced to do it, it doesn't really count, that you've intentionally done. And I've got a friend of mine that I've known for, my goodness, 32 years or so. And she texted me this morning, how you doing? I said, doing well. And I texted her, I think yesterday, the question, what is the thing that you've done hard today? And she asked me, and I told her, I said, well, I got up at 5 and I stretched for 15 minutes and I took an ice cold shower. And she said, yeah, but you do those every day. And so maybe ponder the question, does it count? If you do them and they're already habit, and then I realized, yeah, they do, because everything that I do, whether it's habit or not, that's hard, I'm still afraid to death of doing it before I do it. Jumping in a cold shower, I'm afraid of it. Lifting weights, I'm afraid of. Getting up and doing an ab workout at 5, I'm afraid of it. Like, it scares me, and it terrifies me, actually. And so I want people to think about that, is if you're doing something hard and you're doing it intentionally to improve yourself or others, it doesn't matter if you just do it out of habit. It doesn't matter. As long as it's hard for you and it scares you to do it, your brain, your comfort zone is going to stretch out of fucking control. Yes. And you will be in 12 months. If you do one hard thing a day, in 12 months, you will be unrecognizable. And the thing is, we talked about this, you and I, brother, last week. It doesn't have to be getting up and doing 6 minutes of planks or taking a nice cold shower. All it can be is instead of getting up at 7, get up at 6:59 that day. Set your alarm 1 minute early. Instead of strolling on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok at 7 o'clock, set your alarm for 7:05 and read from 7:07 to 7:05. Just read. Just do something. Break the paradigm. Break the pattern that you're in right now a little bit. That's something scary. It's something different. And you do that for a year, every single day. Don't miss a day. Mark it on the calendar. 365 things that terrify you, scare you, or take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. You will be unrecognizable in 1 year. I believe that.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of my life mantras is confidence is built by doing hard things. And if you're doing a hard thing a day, your confidence is continuing to grow. And again, with a lot of my life struggle has been lack of confidence. And as I'm sure you're familiar with, Brian, that the 75 hard program, there's different levels to it. Well, there's phase number 2, which is a cold shower, which used to scare the hell out of me. Like, why would anyone want to take a cold shower now? And I think we have this in common as well. But the very first thing that I do when my alarm clock goes off in the morning is I march my way into the shower. And I look at that shower head and I count down 3, 2, 1, squeeze my cheeks, turn it on, ice blast cold right in the face.
Yep.
And that is probably the worst part of my day, but everything else seems like cake afterwards. It's just easier. And of course, the health benefits associated with that. But just to get something difficult out of the way right away sets the tone for the rest of the day.
100%. And I have talked to hundreds of people on this cold shower thing, and I don't know that I've convinced one person to do it. That's the one thing that, Brian, I'll do about anything you recommend in the coaching process, but I'm not doing that. I'm like, it's after 3 to 5 seconds, I don't notice it. I really don't.
Yeah.
It's that when it first hits you, it is oh man, it's a bucket of ice. You're basically waterboarding yourself with ice water every day. That's what it is.
I've never heard it put like that, but I think that's accurate. Yes,
it is. Or if you have a cold plunge, do that. If you live by a cold river or lake, jump in there. And the thing is, again, for those people out there who are thinking, I am not doing that. Well, then take your regular shower. And then at the last 5 seconds, turn it on cold, and then turn it back to warm. Then go to 6 seconds and 7. And over the course of weeks, just go up to the point where your whole shower is just ice cold water. And it's because it really is it's really the first. It's like anything else. It's the first few seconds of it that are bad. After that, you're clicking along, man. All right. So I do want to touch on a topic that you brought up a minute ago, but I do want to ask you this question because I don't like to miss this question in case we go off on a tangent, Anthony. What would you say is one of the most difficult things you've ever gone through in your life? And maybe you've already talked about it with your father. I don't know. And then what caused you to scale that wall and overcome it or get through it?
Yeah. So I've made reference that my best friend passed away a couple years ago, and he died from alcohol abuse. And that was hopefully for a very long period of time. The last close friend of mine that has passed away, but from the time I was 21 there was a period of time from the time I was 21 years old till I was in my mid-30s where I had 12 very close friends, including 2 of my best friends pass away. So there's been a lot of tragedy and just premature death in my circle here. And that has rocked my boats because each situation was different, but I'd always try to be the strong person out of the group for their families, for the friend circles, for whatever the case is, and, really just hold the emotion in. And again, just kind of be the strong individual. So therefore, I never really got to mourn the losses or have a deeper understanding of how that has impacted me and the way that I carry that weight. And this ties back into the comment that I made earlier about you're a direct reflection of the individuals that you keep closest. For the majority of my life, I was running with the wrong circles. The friends or the acquaintances that I'd surround myself with were more energy suckers as opposed to illuminators. And I never felt like I could completely be myself, be vulnerable, be Anthony Johnson, just raw. And otherwise I'd get judged or whatever the case is. So it's kind of an interesting story. It revolves around my dog, but this is around COVID time, coming out of COVID when things were opening back up. And there was this doggy daycare center in the Twin Cities here that opened, and there was a gentleman that owns the place, and he came out, gave me a warm handshake. We developed into more or less acquaintances. And there was one, I guess, day in particular where I was just in a really rough spot. I brought our dog Jackson into doggy daycare, and Ryan comes around the corner and greets me. And then I get a text message from him later that evening saying, "Hey, what are you doing on Monday morning at 5:00 a.m.?" I was like, "I'm probably sleeping. What's going on?" And at that time, I was struggling with chemical dependency issues myself. And he says, "Well, why don't you come hang out with a group of go-getters, illuminators? We meet every Monday morning. We do hot tub, cold tub, sauna, butter coffee, etc. And we talk about life and bring each other up." So I got integrated with this community, and now this community serves as my friend circle. And it has allowed me to be, again, just the authentic Anthony that I've always either ran away from, hid from, whatever the case is, or maybe just didn't even really understand who I was internally. And throughout the years, I've been able to peel back those layers. And there was one period in time, and again, this was about last summer, shortly after my friend passed away, where they were holding space for me. So we were in my friend's basement. There's about 15 of us or so, and we were just hanging out talking. And it was the first time in my life where I just let it go. I'm talking like wept, where I just felt into the anger, resentment, sadness of a lot of the trials and tribulations of my life, but specifically a lot of my friends that have passed away too soon from unfortunate circumstances. And it felt like a cleansing, like just this typhoon, I don't know, wiped over me. And coming out of that, I was at peace. And that was I can honestly say that was the first time in my life where I just felt free of a lot of the angst and struggles that I've been going through. And since then, I've carried that momentum moving forward to be the most authentic person of myself in every situation, whether this podcast, when I'm meeting with clients, friends, family. I'm fiercely loyal. I love to love. But I felt like for the longest portion of my life, I was just stunted in that growth or the ability to be authentic as I could possibly be. That's a long-winded answer to your question. Hopefully I addressed that appropriately, but that has been that's been huge.
Well, you hit a nail on the head. You really did, Anthony. And this is one of the things that I struggle with a lot, obviously myself and my clients, is tightening your circle, circling the wagons with the right people. I mean, you think about, we have 8-9 billion people on the planet, 7 billion, I don't know. Why do we choose the people we choose? What, who do we marry? Who do we date? Who do we hang out with? Who do we work with? Who do we employ? Whatever that is. Why? When we have such an unlimited pool of people on this planet. Now, I'm not saying that people around anybody are necessarily bad people, but if you want to live a life of homeostasis, you stay with the friends that you're with right now, because that's where you will be. You will be where in 10 years, you'll be exactly where you are now, maybe with a little bit of incremental growth. But if you want to go to the next level, you have to really give a strong internal audit to yourself and your own behaviors, as well as the behaviors of the people you associate with. Because we do think that we only have a small group of people, and these people are, what I've learned? Yeah, losing friends, it sucks. It really does. Well, I'm talking about losing friends through self-selection. You choose to kind of start a new group of friends. It does hurt. It really does. But the reward is amazing. I listened to this yesterday while I was in the middle I was rucking, and it was one of those stoic podcasts I always send you, on stoicism. Yes. And it was talking about, it's not like you lose friends. He said, the author was talking, you do lose particular friends, but as soon as you start to separate yourself from certain people, there's other people right there waiting, and they've been waiting for you. They just didn't know it, and you've been waiting for them. And I believe this, and this is, people say, well, how do you know if you have the right people? There's a lot of gut to that. You can feel when you're with somebody, or you're talking with somebody, or you're just thinking of somebody, does it make you feel like a better, stronger person? Or do you kind of feel like a weaker, lesser person in their presence? But I think if you want to be more pragmatic about it, you could say, okay, let's follow 3 rules. Does this person celebrate my successes with me? Yes or no?
Like that. Yep.
And then do I do the same for them? So it's back and forth. Number two, does this person support me when I need support? And do I support this person when they need it? The third one is the key, I think, and it's the most difficult one. But does this person challenge me when I'm being an idiot? And do I challenge them? So it's support, celebrate, challenge, or celebrate, support, challenge. CSC is what I call it. And that when you put people through that litmus test, you can kind of, and it isn't like you have to call people, hey, you're out of my friend group. It's not that. It's just a matter of, maybe there are some people you have to do that too. I don't know. But it's a matter of opening your mind and your heart to people who will do those things, those people who are going to celebrate, support, and challenge you, and who people will call you out because they love you and they expect more from you. When you start associating with those people, you naturally don't have the time or the energy or the resources to associate with people who don't provide that for you, and you don't provide that for them. And in all fairness to that person you're kind of cutting out of your life, they need somebody different than you, too. So, so that learning that you've had, how have you used that now? Okay, I know the importance of associating with the right people. How have you used that so people can go, all right, now maybe I can try that or a portion of what Anthony does?
How have I used that?
Yeah, like how have you been able to kind of upgrade your associations?
It's a good question. I have to ponder that one, Brian.
You going to get back with us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I did last year, or well, it'll be 2 years now. No, it'd be, maybe it was, it was either a year ago or 2 years. I made a commitment. It was probably not long after I started the podcast. So maybe it was even 3 years ago now. I made a commitment to myself, not subjectively, we call it, objectively, I guess, consciously is the word I'm looking for, consciously, that I said, I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to begin to surround myself with really high quality people. And that, doing the podcast helps because you get to meet a lot of people. And that was probably the impetus to it when I look back on it 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it was. And I look at now, and what is it, October 25th, 2025, things have dramatically changed for me in that respect. Like I'm talking to you right now. I didn't even know your name 5 months ago. You didn't know my name 5 months ago. And yet now we have this great relationship. We get to talk every week. We challenge each other. We support each other. We celebrate together. We can text each other. That is the key to everything. It's who you partner with in life, who you date or marry, and who you associate with. And that is the secret to all success. That will determine a person's direction every single time. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just keeping yourself open for something new. A lot of when we're thinking about the old acquaintances or friends, we do so out of comfort. You and I are avid readers, so I'm thinking about like the comfort crisis and just a lot of the perils that being comfortable has to do with life. And I think that associates with friend circles as well. So I always say greatness happens when you step outside of your comfort zone. And when I look back in hindsight, if I said, no, thank you, Ryan, I am going to continue sleeping in on a Monday morning at 5 o'clock. Thanks for the invite, but I'll pass. I would have lost that opportunity. So it's keeping yourself open and accepting new things into your life. And also, too, as you're integrating with new individuals, I always love to have a deeper understanding of what are their core values, what are their motivations, is there alignment? And if there is decent alignment between the value sets between myself and other individuals, that's typically a recipe for a budding and terrific friendship, similar to what you and I have, where we were almost from the jump talking about our values, what's our common denominators, and we're continuing to grow, and it's special. It's great.
It really is. I was talking to a really good friend of mine, Gino, out of Denver this morning, right before you and I started talking. He reminds me a lot of you. I'm going to connect the two of you. Actually, and we were talking about how certain people's behavior is just shitty. There are people, and you're like, I don't get it. And I told him, I said, I think if you really think about it, you simplify life. Our job is to do it's very simple. It's find your place in the circle and give it your best.
Hey, I like that.
I think that key is it's finding your place in the circle, because if you're in the wrong circle, your best is going to be subpar. But if you're in the right circle with people who are like-minded, who want to get better, who want to help other people, who, are always every day striving to grow a little bit, then your best becomes a lot better, and it just raises you, and you raise them. Yeah, the interesting story. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of back in the, I would assume this would be the late 1800s in Detroit, Michigan. You had Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, Thomas Edison, and John Burroughs, who was a world-renowned naturalist at the time.
That's a crew.
It's a crew. And there's a picture I always used to, when I used to do talks on this subject of, I call it Respecting the Laws of Food and Poison. And I actually did a podcast like 3 years ago on this, it was a 2 or 3 part episode podcast on this, of how you have to separate food people and associate with food nourishing people, and you have to get rid of the toxic poisonous people, and you can't compromise the two, because if you do, poison always wins. If you allow one poisonous person in your group, they're going to poison everybody, because poison doesn't play fairly. But anyway, I would always put on back in the projector days, I'd always had this picture projected, this is 25, 30 years ago, on the wall of these 4 people, Ford, Firestone, Edison, and Burroughs, sitting down this kind of old wooden water wheel. And it wasn't a propaganda picture. They used to go out every couple of weeks. They would take one of Henry Ford's cars, and they'd go to I think it was like the Dearborn, Michigan, when it was still farms. They'd go out and have a picnic, the 4 of them, and the 4 of them would just sit and talk. And one day a reporter came and took a picture of them, and it's an iconic picture, man. It's really cool. And it made me realize, if that kind of association with these 4 world changers, I mean, you look at Time Life did a study 25 years ago, and the most influential person in the history of the planet at that time was Thomas Edison, and Henry Ford was number 13. I mean, you're talking guys who were the best of the best, and they would go out and associate with each other. They would learn from each other. They would challenge each other. They would share ideas and thoughts. And I remember thinking at that time, if that's good enough for them, it's sure the hell good enough for me.
Hey, I like that.
So I couldn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have my phone on. Do not disturb. Folks, this is the first time Anthony and I we're guinea pigging a little bit today, just to improve the audio. This is the first time I've ever done a call through a different source. So hopefully the audio is better. Next year we're going to be doing video podcasting, so the audio will be fixed. But I've gotten some feedback from listeners saying sometimes your audio is not good on the guest side. So, and I understand that. I won't listen to a podcast that has bad audio, and I know I'm hypocritical. I throw some of those out there more often than I should, but I think this one's pretty clear. So, hey, I want to tell you, I know this is our second go around today, because folks, we started the interview process, went about 7 minutes in, and it just didn't sound right, so we started over again. So I don't know if I've already brought this up or if this is the first go around, but Anthony, I did finish the Book of 5 Rings.
Yes.
I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's good. It's not, for me, it wasn't great. But I finished it this morning, and I think I'll listen to it on Audible now, because I've heard so many great things about this book, and I want somebody else to tell me what they got out of it. So I want you to read it soon, if you would, Anthony, and so we can discuss it, because I think I missed a lot, but I think I'll listen to it on Audible and just pick up anything I might have missed. So, folks, the book is a Book of the 5 Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, who was a samurai warrior, I think 300 and some years ago. Killed like 60 some men in one-on-one combat. Has the record for it. I mean, maybe not a great claim to fame, but back then that was a sign of a hero. And it was just his book, and you can use it not just on fighting and martial arts, but there is some good lessons in there on life. I just didn't get what I was hoping out of it. So.
I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard people say it's terrific. You have to check this out. I've heard people say don't waste your time. So you're kind of middle ground with the 3 out of 5, but I will give it a read. That's actually, I think, number 3 on my to read list. Oh, couple in front.
Okay, good. I actually am reading. Oh, it comes tomorrow in the mail. Is The Miracle Morning. I've been wanting to read that book for a while, and I'm like, I talk to myself and my clients so much on how to structure your mornings, but I've never read that book, and I guess it's pretty good. But when I don't have anything to read, I'm following your lead. I'm reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I'm on page, just read this morning, I'm on chapter 2, so page like 17. That's what I'm on right now. Mm-hmm. But
Absolutely.
I love that. I love what his writing. I just love this book. This specific translation is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's terrific. I pick that up every couple of years.
Yeah.
I always get something new of it.
Well, that's a good question too. I started writing down in my journal yesterday. Sorry, got to reach for my journal here. At the last page of my journal, because I'll wrap that up in December. I'll be done with this journal. Like the books to read every single year. And the first one was The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. That's a book I've read.
That's terrific.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I read that every single year. And I put on here Who Moved My Cheese. That's a good book.
This one's new to me.
You've never read that?
No.
Oh, dude, man, read that book. It'll take you 45 minutes. Okay. Oh, you got to read it. It's all about change. It was a New York Times bestseller for quite a while, maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago. Real easy book to read. The other one is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
The other one I didn't put on here was The Obstacle is the Way. I don't know why I didn't put that.
The Obstacle is the Way. I was just going to say. Yeah, I was just going to say that's a. And there's 2 others I like to throw out there too. One is The Alchemist. It's always a great quick read. And the other one is The 4 Agreements. Have you ever read that?
Ruiz.
Yep.
That's a good book. I'm just going to write that down.
Simple but enlightening.
That's a great book. Another one I'm going to throw out there for people to consider is The Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes.
By Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, that is.
Holocaust survivor.
Ooh.
That book will reach you. That'll touch some deep parts of your soul.
To put it mildly, yes.
So right now, when you look at your life, October 25th, 2025, what advantages do you see and benefits have you noticed overall, like specific stuff if you can or whatever, regarding this kind of, I'll call it upgrade of association with newer people being open to new ideas and new people in your life? What are you seeing and how that's transforming your life, Anthony?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, to trust the process, I think that's a big piece of this here, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners were busy professionals or whatever walk of life you're in, but life comes at you hot and heavy, and some days you're riding high, some days you're riding low. But as long as you're working towards your North Star and to clearly identify what that North Star is, or abiding by your value set, but to trust the process, you're gonna strike out, you're gonna hit home runs, but to just keep grinding and keep your momentum going. Every day as best as you possibly can. In addition to that, I've referenced this several times. We actually just did a deep dive into this, but you're a direct reflection of the top 5 or 10 people you surround yourself with. And in addition to that, it's okay to be vulnerable. For me, throughout my life, having to have this perceived sense of supreme confidence, or just not the ability, or to not have the ability to really express myself, my emotions, my feelings, thoughts, etc., to trusted individuals. That is so freeing when I'm able to do that, whether it's with my wife, with my son, with my friends, with my family, etc. But it's a consistent weight off my shoulders. And then in addition to that, what I've really been working hard on too is equal parts meditation and breath work. That's another big one too. That's how I set the trajectory for my day. So I have a very disciplined morning and evening routine. But in the morning time, before I crack the computer or really just kickstart my day, I am going through a specific set of breathwork techniques followed by meditations just to ground myself. Happy to expand on that more if you would like, but that in itself just makes the day flow so much easier. I'm just more in my body and more in my mind, and things they just happen. It's easier. It's a great way to set the trajectory or the tone of the day. So for those that maybe have been, which I have too, struggled with meditation, I'm 2 minutes in and my mind's going a million miles a minute, just like working a muscle. You just got to keep working out. I am now to the point to where I am able to kind of release and just be one with myself. And it's beautiful when you're able to hit that moment. I'm just baby steps on this, but I am able to see the light and to start achieving that. And breathwork too. Breathwork has been absolutely terrific. There's many different techniques. I'm going to throw a name out there. Wim Hof. That's WIM, first name, last name Hof, HOF. He's got a very specific breathwork technique that is terrific, absolutely terrific. And that's helped me a lot with my stress, my anxiety. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'll just do a couple minutes of that. And it's like magic. You're just kind of back in the respective moment with harmony. So those are a lot of the different techniques.
I love it. And I've said this many times on the podcast. I am, for some reason, I'm very, I'll call it afraid of meditation and breath work for some reason. I mean, I meditate twice a week. I don't like it. I don't know why. I have no idea. I have no idea why it intimidates me. And so I know because it does, it's something I have to do because my fear is calling me to, but I follow Wim Hof on Facebook, and I see his stuff on YouTube. I follow, but I never really watch it. I'll start watching it because that guy he's a specimen. He's a character. He does some really weird shit. I mean, you can't believe the stuff he can do with his body and his mind. It's crazy. Yeah. He's a specimen. Going back to that though, this idea of association with people. I remember hearing somebody said one time, and I wrote it down, and it talked about the concept of, I put it in the concept of food and poison. So food being nourishing people, poison being toxic people in your life. It's a battle that you don't have a choice whether you fight or not. Because if you allow poisonous behavior and people into your life, that poison has already determined that you are going to have to battle it. You're going to have to battle it, or it's going to kill you. One of the two. It's ready for battle. The choice is whether you choose to accept it into your life, or to say no, get the fuck out. And when that happens, what I found is it's hard to separate from poisonous, toxic people. And I don't mean bad people. Let's clarify that, because we're all poisonous at times. That's called situational poison. But some people are character based, and they're like that most of the time. They're negative, they're gossipy, they bring people down. There's actually 10 different qualifications to help a person to determine whether they or other people are toxic or nourishing. But so they're not bad people, but they just might be toxic to you and what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that when that battle is already made, if you allow poison into your life, it's the battle is there. You succumb to the battle and you lose, or you fight and you win. One of the two. Because the difference though is that it's hard when you start accepting people in your life who are toxic, in my opinion, simply because a toxic poison, a good nourishing, honest person, if life was a battlefield, you would call them a tank. And even when they're disagreeing with you, they're a tank. So you see them. They come, like you said, Anthony. They're authentic. Whoever they are, they're like, hey, I'm a tank. I'm going to battle you. I'm going to challenge you right now. But that's okay, because then I know how to fight back, because I can see it. So a disagreement of people who disagree with me, people who want to argue with me or who want to challenge me, as long as they're authentic and honest, I respect that. That's not poison, yes. Even if I just drastically disagree with them. But a true poisonous person doesn't fight like a tank. They fight like a corrosive gas. And they come in your life, and sometimes that corrosive gas has a really good scent to it. So it smells flowery, and this person's really awesome. And pretty soon, just like any corrosive gas, before you realize that they've got you, it's too late. It really is. Because you think about it this way. I think that if you look at our lives, you take care of your body. You're a guy who loves to work out, loves to take care of your mind. You're all about just growth on a consistent basis. If you were at the apex of your life, physically right now, perfect health you are, and I offered you a thimble full of poison, just a little shot of poison, and you took it, what would happen? You die.
Yep.
Or you get gravely ill. We know that as it pertains to the physical body. What we forget is it also pertains to our emotional and mental and cultural body. So if you allow one poisonous person out of 1,000 nourishing people into a group, into your life, they are going to win eventually. They'll wear you down because they don't fight fair. They fight like that corrosive gas, and they just seek in there, and they kind of weave in and out, and they don't do it intentionally 99% of the time, but it just happens. And pretty soon you realize your behavior starts to slip, your thoughts starts to slip, your consistency, you're getting up later, you're drinking more, you're doing doing less positive things for your body and your mind, your work is slipping, your relationships with other people are starting to fall apart, that's the sign that you have somebody who's toxic in your life. It's a really good sign. So how many people would you say, Anthony, you currently have in your circle of life that you would say is they're the kind of people you'd want to replicate and have more of? These are your nourishing food style people.
15.
Okay.
Yep. And that's I shot that direct number out there because when I think about this community, this brotherhood, this tribe that I'm a part of, who all have significant others as well. So my wife is a part of this tribe as well. But just speaking specifically to the other men in this community, it's 15 individuals that I know have pure intentions. In both ways, they're looking out for my best interest. I'm looking out for their best interest. We're all about growth and as you said earlier, challenging me too, which I believe is paramount. I have very rigorous goals set throughout the rest of this year here, and I have my accountability team, thanks in large part to you, Brian. But and I think that we had chatted about this with the other individuals that you partner with, is that I had to kind of trim it down a little bit because my accountability team was large, and you're like, okay, that's great, but let's trim that down a little bit. So I'm extremely blessed to have a strong amount of individuals that are what I like to call illuminators, as opposed to those toxic type of individuals, because they're all about pumping the right energy and brightening my light, and then vice versa, I'm brightening their lights.
That's a good number, 15. I wonder if there is a number that is most effective. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it's different for everybody.
I think it is too. And I noticed last week on your accountability team, you crushed every one of them.
Yes, I'm on fire. I love it. I'm riding the momentum. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, but it's trusting that process, right? Every day, just having and that's another, for any listeners out there that want to take heed to this little nugget too, is I have what's called a power list, where every night before I go to bed, I'm listing out 3 to 5 things that I know I need to accomplish in the next day. And therefore my head is less, I'm falling asleep a lot easier, just because I don't have these thoughts racing through on what do I got to do? What do I got to do? So I put that in my journal as my daily power list. And it's 3 to 5 things I know I need to accomplish the next day to win the day. So those tasks that I've been putting off, or the errand, or whatever it is. But then when I wake up in the morning, that's one of the first things I do is I take a look at that power list. I schedule it out, or I do it right out of the gate, the one thing that I've been procrastinating on, and I just get it done. Just GSD, get shit done.
Yep. I like that. I don't do that. I have my 3 to 5 things for the week that I put together on Sundays, but I don't do that for 3 to 5. And I'm looking for an evening routine, so that might be something I add to my evening routine. Hey, can you talk a little bit about, I know you call it the I am statements, the TPI, and tell me what that's done for you. Because folks, for those who don't know, newer listeners or more recent listeners, we did a show, I don't know, 2-3 years ago on developing your true peak identity, which is an exercise I take all my clients through, and friends and things like that, and myself, obviously. And Anthony, I know you've done it. You've been doing it. So I just wanted, can you talk on that? Because that's something that I really wish the world would really grab onto, internalize, and practice on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this. So specifically the I am statements, I think I made a comment earlier that identifying your true north and having that align with your core values. Well, how to marry those two together, you have to have a deep understanding of yourself. So what Brian had tasked me to do was list out all of the roles that I play in life, all of them. And there was many, I think there was maybe 20 plus. So, father, athlete, financial advisor, husband. Yeah, husband. My wife's definitely going to listen to this podcast. So husband, shout out to Katie.
Okay.
Yes. And lay those out, but then trim it down to the 10 most important roles that you play in life, and then walk through a process of developing I am statements where it is in the perfect world, in your perfect self, who are you hoping to be in the moment, and who are you hoping to become in the future? So I'm a loving, devoted, and respectful husband to Katie, We're building a legacy together. We're changing our community, the world, etc. And to get into the practice of what Brian says, 5 or 6 times a week to do this, I've been doing it every day and being very strategic with timing of this. So whether it's the first thing in the morning or whether it's before night, etc. And I do that every day. And I typically do it in the mornings. One of the very first things I do after my cold shower, I'm in the sauna and I'm reading through my I am statements. But to be active when you're doing it, Brian, I'm sure you can articulate more on the left side, right side of the brain. But what this has allowed me to do is to continue to tap into who I am as a human being, as a man, as a father, husband, etc., as a friend, and what I am looking to become. And there is no question marks. These are direct statements of this is who I am, this is what I will become, etc. And that is every day. That's just positive reinforcement that I am a good human being, that I do have a good value set, that I have good traits, that I have pure intentions, and to keep just implementing that, repeating that, because if you continue to repeat it, then you'll believe it, and then you'll continue to maneuver through life with those understandings. And I found it interesting too. There was Brian, I think I told you this, but there was a couple weeks back where I had a very heavy workload, a lot of stress, big meetings, etc. I think this was on a Thursday, and I was a stress ball, just all those thoughts running through my mind. And I read the I am statements before I went to bed and fell asleep pretty quickly. And then I woke up the next morning and I don't know what it was, but I was charged up, ready to go. I don't know if it was a direct reflection of the action that I took the night before with reading through these I am statements, but I got up, said, I'm built for this. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm grateful. Let's go get it. And it ended up being just an absolutely terrific day front to back. And that tool, that one tool, the I am statements, that is now a cornerstone of my life and my day-to-day activities. So thank you, Brian, for instilling that in me. But it's for the listeners, it's paramount. It's terrific.
Well, it goes back to, and it's just, they talk about manifestation and, prayer is a form of manifestation as well, directly to God. This is a way, I think of TPI, your I am statements are almost a prayer to your highest self. You are telling yourself that you are amazingly perfect in all of these areas. Now, we all know that that's not possible and that's not true. But when you can when your left brain can convince your right brain, your conscious brain can convince your subconscious brain that you are this person, you begin to act like that person. You act exactly how you feel when you wake up in the morning. If you feel like a loser, you're going to act like a loser all day long. If you feel like you feel energetic, I feel like a good, productive, energetic person, you're going to act energetic and productive throughout the day. And this is a way and it's all happens in your subconscious brain, your right brain. So however you feel about yourself, you're completely unaware of for most of the time. It's going to determine everything you think, feel, say, and do throughout the day. So if you can convince over time from your left brain to your right brain, you convince that right brain that you are this person, you begin to act that person. And it just becomes natural. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a process of consistency. And, you were one of the people who really engulfed that. And so I'm glad you were able to, talk on that subject for a little bit, Anthony, and I told you before, I had it just one time. I always do mine in the morning. So I do mine while I'm doing my ab workout, typically. And I did it one time. I must have forgotten during the morning or something. And I did it at night and then didn't think anything of it. Then I go to bed and I woke up the next morning and I had this amazing day. And I'm like, why do I feel so different today? I feel so much more energetic, more positive, more confident. Well, I thought, I wonder because studies show that if you do it at night, your brain processes it while you're sleeping. And so there's a benefit to doing it in the morning. There's a benefit to doing it at night. I typically do mine in the morning because I just have a lot of energy in the morning. At night, I don't have a lot. And you want to throw some energy with it. But I had that same experience just that one time. And I probably should start doing it a couple of times a week in the evening just to test it out and get a bigger sample size. So folks, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I'd like to see what you're like with low energy.
Yeah. You call me. You come over around 4:00 in the afternoon. I've got no energy. Trust me. I'm laying in my bed, usually reading or just doing some scrolling. About 4:00 on, I lose my steam, and I'm in bed at like 7:30 at night. I literally am in bed at 7:30. I mean, my son will be, Dad, I'm just going to class, or he's halfway through his night class, and and last night he said, yeah, he called me on his way to class at like 2. He had class from like 2 to 8 or something, and a project and a class. I said, all right, well, I'll text you like when I go to bed. He goes, I'll be in the middle of class, then I'm going home to lift weights. I'm like, dude, lifting, I'm in the middle of my REM sleep by the time you get home and lift weights. I mean, but so people think you get up early, like, you have a superhuman ability. No, you just go to bed early. Be in bed, be asleep by 9, you'll be up by 5. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. It really is. But yeah, I have a lot of moments of low energy. But anyway, right now, Anthony, when you look at your life, what would you consider to be a win?
I feel like I'm living my win right now. And here's what I mean by that. It's to have what I never thought I would have before. I'm married to the woman of my dreams. I have a loving and respectful son in Isaac. I have the most amazing dog who's sitting right next to me snoring away, so I'm boring him to death right now. But, a career that I'm extremely passionate about, where I get to give back to our clients and provide significant value to the firm and our clients. Just an incredible family set now, our family strong, terrific friend circle, and good health too. I'm blessed to be in good health. These are all things that I never dreamed of having at a younger age. I mean, this it sounds super cliche, but in my younger years, teens and even early 20s, it was the old, I'm going to either be dead or in prison type of approach, right? So I just I didn't have these visions of becoming remotely successful, let alone to be at a place that I'm at today. So I'm living it each and every moment. And I am very, very committed to cascading this message to the masses as well. So thank you for the platform on this podcast. But and also too, another major win of mine is I've been blessed throughout my life to have very particular individuals, almost like mentees, like talk about Mr. Strand earlier, and then early in my career, or how I got into my career with a specific individual who mentored me. So I've carried mentors throughout my life. Brian is my coach, etc. But now the shoe is on, or the shoe's on the other foot. Meaning that I do a lot of mentoring for young college students that are struggling finding their way. They kind of have a want to get into the financial services industries, but I do mentor over 10 individuals across the country, and that I love it. I absolutely love it to just partner with the younger generation. So that to me is a win, to see this blossoming community and to promote growth across many different channels.
I love it. You're there, Mr. Strand. I love it, man. That's exactly.
Oh man.
I think the first part of that answer, as you were talking, and I was jotting down some ideas and notes, I think that's the best answer I've ever gotten on that question. I really do.
Oh,
yeah. I heard a quote the other day, because you said I'm living it right now, and I think so many of us are living our dream at the moment. But talking to Dave Dick this morning, we were talking about how our past is our prison and our future is our thief. We're stuck to our prison, but the worry, the good or the bad of the future steals from our present. And I heard this quote. I'm gonna paraphrase it, because it said something to the effect of, yesterday I heard this: if you were 95 years old with $20 million in your bank account, whatever age you are right now, you would give up all that money to go back to the age and the person you are today. 99.9% of people would trade that life of a 95 or 100-year-old person with a lot of money. You would say, if you could go back to being 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80, you would make that trade every single day, because you realize at that time, that moment, whatever it was the good old days. And you had all that time ahead of you. I love that way to look at life. I don't even know where I read that. I probably saved it. It was probably a meme. I'm a glutton for memes, man.
I love it.
But
it's kind of interesting. Just real quick. So I have a calendar with different. Every morning I wake up, and that's actually the very first thing that I do. It's not the cold shower, but I flip the calendar, and there's typically like a stoic phrase. So like Marcus Aurelius or whomever. But the one the other day, and it just stuck with me, this was Aurelius, and it says, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, and to love. And that's something that to me, that's what anxiety is. It's the what's going to happen, what could happen, what if it goes wrong, what if this, what if this, what if this. So that's the thief of joy, when you're thinking about the future. But to be locked into the moment and enjoy the successes and the wins and the the individuals that you surround yourself with each and every moment, that is just that's life. That's the beauty of life, is right now. Exactly. Not back then, not in the future.
And I want to quote something that you said last week or last couple of weeks with me when you talked about having these worries of what if it goes wrong, what if this happens, what if that what if this fails, and then you turn it around and said, what if it all works out? What if it all works out? And I love that mentality, man. That's why I've been sending you all those memes and videos. And
I love it.
I'm bombarding your text with a bunch of what if it all works out quotes.
Like I said, keep them coming. I love it.
Yeah, man. Of course I will. This is my favorite question to ask. It's a time machine question. Now, all the audience probably knows it already, but if I were to take my time machine from Marquette, Michigan, to come over to Minneapolis, boom, and I'm pulling it behind my Jeep, and you and I were to get in it, you can go back to any time frame of your life, a younger Anthony, and you sit down on the park bench and you just talk with him. Words of wisdom, piece of advice, recipe for success, whatever you would share with that younger Anthony, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Time machine question. I like that. I got a couple here. So in my younger years, and even to a lesser degree today, but I've grown, hence the question, but it's okay to make mistakes. I've always been kind of cut from the perfectionist cloth on having to do, or just the fear of failure. And so I would just warp myself into a tizzy about how to do things perfectly. And obviously, you should be in the pursuit of excellence and to do the very best that you can. But I would just hammer myself if a mistake was made, and it would paralyze me to the point that I wasn't able to get out of that rut, that moment. And then that's where the toxicity would come in with a lot of different things, whether it was chemicals, friends, groups, etc. But that it's okay to make mistakes. And in addition to that, to try new things. I think a lot of our conversation today has been centered around stepping outside of your comfort zone, allowing new ideas to come into your life, allowing for new friends to come into your life, etc. So to really be cognizant of trying new things and expanding your horizon, because I kind of stayed in 10 and 2 in my younger years. It was the comfort crisis. I knew what I knew, so therefore I stayed in my lane. Life was passing me by, and if I could go back in time and change some things and take on some more calculated risks, I mean, who knows? I don't like to play that hindsight game, but to challenge yourself to try new things. In addition to that, it's not all about me. A lot of us are, maybe selfish isn't the right word, maybe it is, but that I was just so engrossed with self. So yeah, selfish, but that I failed to see what a lot of my actions were doing to other individuals. Again, whether that was friends, family, business, coworkers, etc. So to make sure that that it's not all about me.
Yeah.
A couple other items here is to never, ever, ever give up. There were points in my life to where when I tried something and I did not succeed, I gave up. And it's taken a long time for me to work on that grit muscle. Grit is one of my top values. It's if you get knocked down, get up again and keep trying, and eventually you'll get it. So I many times in my younger years, I gave up. And that sucks to say, but it's the fact. And another piece too is reading. So I thought reading wasn't cool for many, many years. And it's been probably the last decade that I've just been soaking up books left and right. So to the younger generation, that, the wealth of knowledge is at your fingertips in the library or whatever your jam is, Kindle, etc. But to always be growing, nourishing your mind with books is another big one.
That last one, I mean, they're all amazing, every one of those. So I want everybody to go back to this, and I would rewind and listen to that again. I would write those thoughts and ideas down. I want to comment on the last one, reading, because that's one thing that I was talking to someone last week about, and I said to a client, I said, whether it's through coaching or a friendship or the podcast, every highly successful person I know is busier than just about anybody else in the world. They're busy, but yet they all read. Every one of them reads. There can be the CEO of a large company, they can be an entrepreneur, they can be a top salesperson, they can be an athlete, whatever it is. Incredibly stay-at-home mom or dad that's busy all the time. If they are at the top of their game, you're going to hear that they read a lot of books, or they at least read consistently. They might not read 50 books a year, but they read consistently. And they're selective about what they read. I think there's nothing. I like reading fiction. I read fiction all the time. I like horror movies. I love historical fiction. I love Stephen King novels. And those are good. They're very good for your brain. But also pick up books on self-help, leadership, philosophy, physics. I don't care. A book that will stretch you a little more than just a fiction, which I think is awesome too. I think they're really good for the brain. Okay. Is there any question, Anthony, that I didn't ask that you wish I would have, or is there any final message that you'd like to leave with the Bamboo Pack out there?
Still on that one for a second here. Let's say for the question, what is my biggest fear? Like that one. And the answer is spiders. I can't stand spiders. I probably borderline arachnophobic, but my biggest fear is living a life without love.
Okay.
I love to love. It nourishes me, and I like to get loved, and I love to love as well. So, I mean, I love family, friends, music, food, books, just living in the moment. And it scares me to the point to where if I get to a point where I am unable to have love in my life, then that's not a life that I want to live. And that scares me.
That's a powerful one. And I wonder how many people out there really resonate. I'm sure a lot of people resonate with the spider one too. But you know how to kill your fear of spiders? Kill them with your bare hands. Every time. You'll realize how powerless they really are. Unless it's something that can bite you, unless it's a venomous or poisonous spider. But that last one is a lot of people, I think, if you broke down their fear, all their fears, a lot of them come down to fear of lack of love. It's being loved, understood, respected, and appreciated are 4 common needs, human needs. And most of the things we do in life, we're doing because we want more of those things. And love is at the top of that list for sure. That's an interesting, because I started thinking, about when I was wrecking, I don't know, maybe it was last week or the week before, about the goose and the golden egg story. I think you and I talked about this last week, about how we all love the golden eggs that the goose lays. And you have to identify what your golden eggs are, because everybody's striving for something. But when in the process of doing that, we don't take care of the goose, which provides the golden eggs. And I dissected my golden eggs to be love, success, money, and respect. Those are the 4 things. And that came to me again in the middle of a run. It wasn't even like I had thought about that. I'm like, oh, that's clearly my golden eggs. And it made me really realize, am I taking care of the goose? Because in the story of Aesop's Fable, the farmer ends up gutting the goose to get more golden eggs out of the goose because he's greedy. All he wants is the golden eggs. And he realizes now with the goose dead, he doesn't get any more golden eggs. And I think it's good to dissect what your golden eggs are. What are those things that you're so afraid of not having or not keeping, and you're always striving for more of? And in the process, are you dissecting, are you killing and disemboweling the golden goose that provides those things, love? And I would think everybody's golden egg would have love in it. If you have 4 or 5 things you're striving for in life, love is going to be that one for everyone. That's powerful, brother.
It is. And I take that a step further too. So you asked the question, the last question that you asked was, is there a question that you didn't ask me, or maybe a mantra or something that I live by? But I just recommend to anybody listening that ask yourself, what are your top 5 or so core values? That's a lot of what we do with our clients. I do that with Isaac, family, friends, etc. But if you don't have a general understanding of your value set, I would highly encourage that you do so. And there's many different ways to do that. But even if you just do a Google search it's called a values cards exercise. Takes all but 20 minutes or 30 minutes, where it's able to help you articulate and understand what your core values are, and then tattoo that somewhere on a piece of paper, your computer, read it every day, etc. Because again, if you're not living within your set of values, then that's where you're open to be compromised. So have a deep understanding of your respective values.
That's a great one. Mine are part of my TPI, so I read them off every morning out loud. What mine are. I'm just going to give a shout out to Doug Linnick, the creator of the values cards. Think to Perform. Doug Linnick, he was on the podcast 3.5 years ago. I'm going to get him back on here shortly. His exercise for coming up with your top 5 values is, I think, ingenious. So guys, if you want to go to thinktoperform.com or just put in Doug Linnick values cards, Google it and do the exercise, and come up with and base your life on it. Family, body, mind, spirit, wealth, and impact. Well, I have impact and wealth as kind of slash, so it's my fifth. I don't want to put a sixth one in there, so I put them together. The impact I make and the wealth that comes from it. So family, body, mind, and spirit, and wealth / income impact are my top 5. And when you memorize those and you put them as part of your I am statements every day, you do start to really realize they become your northern star. They become your compass in life that point you north, and it's a powerful exercise. Last question. What is one thing, Anthony, that you've done so far today intentionally that is hard?
One thing intentionally that is hard. Well, let me run you through this morning. So I don't want to cop out and do my usual, which is the cold shower. So here's one, is that I'm working a fitness program right now where I have to hit at least 10,000 steps a day. And this morning here in the Twin Cities, it's blustery, it's cold. It was like 25 degrees, and it was like sleeting this morning. Ooh. And I did not want to go out there because I got a pretty busy day and pretty busy evening as well. So I threw on my weighted vest, popped on the headphones, listened to a good podcast, and I went for about 45 minute to an hour walk in inclement weather. It was not fun, but I know in order to win the day, I have to hit that certain metric. So I was out there, and this is probably at 5:30 this morning, which I love to do because everyone else is sleeping, and I'm out there working. So that was difficult, but mission accomplished.
Oh man, I'm proud of you, brother. Hey, do you have an Apple Watch?
I do.
We got to share each other's, how you can sync with somebody. I've only done that one time.
I'll do it.
I did it one time with a lady I was dating years ago, and it was really good because I'm always like, because her goal was to burn 500 active calories. Mine was 1,000 active calories every day, and I was always looking at that, and she was at like 350 during the day, and I'd be at like 700. I'm like, I got to go do something. It does challenge you. I think that's a good one. I want to point out, everybody, you don't have to go for a 45-minute ruck with an inclement weather to make your hard thing. It literally can be get down and do a 5-second plank. Anthony's at a point where he can do that. He's challenged his body and his mind where that's his hard thing. Everybody's hard thing is different. Don't let mine or Anthony's or anybody else's scare you. Just do something, because Anthony is living proof that when you start those things at a small level and continue that consistency over time, you one day are talking like Anthony's talking. You're living that life where you can say, what was the question I asked? What's a win for you? And you can say, I'm living it right now. And that's the ultimate goal in life. So, brother, I'm so happy that you can honestly say that. And I truly believe you. And a lot of people are striving for that, brother.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate it too. I'm going to have you back on. I know we nicked the iceberg on this one. We got a lot more to go down. So we'll have you back on in the next 6 months if that's good with you.
I would love it. Absolutely.
Well, my brother, my friend, I love you, man. And I thank you for being such an amazing guest on the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Love you too, brother. Thank you.
Brother. Thank you. Everyone, thank you for tuning in this week. We'll tune in. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. I appreciate all of you. Please hit that like button. Smash that like button, actually. Please rate and review us, subscribe, and share this episode with 3 people. Just send it off. Text it out. Email it out. Share it however you can. And I'll talk to you soon. In the meantime, please get out there and strive to give and be your best. Show love and respect to others and back at yourself. And please, by all means, live with purpose and intentionality. I appreciate each and every one of you listeners right now.